Hi everyone, today I'm showing my version of an annual review in Tana. Over the years, I've done this in various formats, the analog way, in a journal, and I also did it digitally in Notion. Generally, the purpose of an annual review is to reflect on your experiences and progress over the past year. Now, the good thing about it is that you can make it completely your own. That means that for you, it can be a simple reflection and you can add or subtract from the annual review that I'll be sharing here today. It is completely up to you. So I'm currently in a node here that is where all of my reviews kind of live. And I'm going to go ahead and begin at least showing you how I would do this year's annual review. So I'm going to apply the annual review super tag to 2022 here, and we can see that this is all of the default content of this super tag, right? If I were to go to look at the configuration, it's the same thing that's coming up here on the main node. So to begin, let's just have a general look at the workflow here, and then I'll go more in depth with each of these nodes. So firstly, I can add a date. So let's say for some reason I was actually doing the annual review today, I would add today's date. Then I have a node here for reflection. It's currently empty, but this is a place for me to generally write as little or as much as I want about the past year, essentially anything that comes to mind. And that's what you will kind of see throughout the review. For certain areas, I have a space to write your general thoughts, your initial thoughts about how you would have done, or just thoughts about that particular area before going more in depth into a focus category. So here I can write anything. This is my overall reflection for 2022, right? And that will sort of live here. Then I have highlights. Now, highlights is a collection of everything that I have tagged with the super tag for moment, right? So you will see here, let me just resize this a bit so you can see all three of them and probably hide the sidebar, right? So you can see here that this is a live query that is pulling in everything that I have tagged with moment. You can have this tagged whatever you want, named whatever you want. It could be memory or it can be an event or anything. But the whole idea is to collect these moments throughout the year and to bring them in with this live search at the end, so that all of your moments for that particular year would be here. Now, ideally, this should also include some way of filtering or really narrowing down the query to search for everything that's tagged with the year 2022 or whichever particular year it is, right? I'm still figuring that out. If you know how to add that in or how you can filter by, it doesn't have to be current year, but at least where I can put the year, the current year, or maybe I have to do a field with year and it can't just be based on this date that I have here, but that's something that I'm still kind of working through. So how did I so as you can see, it's just a whole bunch of essentially pictures, moments that I wanted to remember from 2022. I'm looking at it right now. You're looking at it in a card view. It is sorted alphabetic. Well, it's actually sorted by date in ascending order. And I am showing the date, as you can see here, and the photo from that memory. To make this, what I did was I just created a node for moments, and I went through my phone and I just looked at all the pictures that I had, wrote a brief summary of the event or whichever moment that I wanted to kind of capture here. I typed it all in, and then I just simply drag the picture into this photos, or if it was a video, I dragged it into this field as well. So the super tag quite simply just has date and a photo, and that's essentially it for that that moments area. So I just find that it's a really fun way to kind of look back at the year, to see what I did, what I will never do again, and just overall memorable moments. Right, so next I have an area for monthly reviews. Now, this is kind of optional, because if you already do a review at the end of each month, it would be nice to see that and to see an overview of that information in your annual review. And for me, that would include the month, as well as a short summary or a short reflection on what or how the month went, right? So here I am pulling in for the monthly review tag. I'm viewing it as a table, and I'm only displaying the reflection field because I have the date to show here in the title. This here is an AI generated review. My actual review for November is down here, but you can see how this would look essentially throughout the year, because it just gives you a nice overview, right? If you already do a monthly review. If you don't do monthly reviews, then this is not really important. You can still achieve a high level of benefit from an annual review without reviewing the months. But because I already have, these fields kind of filled out for my monthly review, it's beneficial to review it at the end of the year as well. In terms of the monthly review super tag, I am currently working through how to incorporate my goals here as well, so that I can review those and be more consistent and accountable at the end of each month by reviewing my goals, because I realize that if I don't do that, I essentially all sorts of different things piles onto my plate, and I lose track of what I would have initially set out and why I wanted to do these things at the beginning of the year. So that's the purpose of having a weekly, monthly, quarterly, how much ever reviews that you want to do. But the whole point of it is at least supposed to be for you to stay on track of the things that you want to focus on. Right, so I don't have that completely pulled in here yet, but I will most likely include that soon. So if you want to do monthly reviews, you can. If not, you can just delete the node. Next, I have goals. So here I plan to write a general review. Again, this is kind of something that I do. Just how my brain works is in writing my general thoughts first and then getting more granular after. So this would kind of look like, okay, from right now, I can see, I know if I look back that I was pretty consistent with my financial goals for the year, but I know that I fell off in terms of health and fitness, in terms of exercise. So I can put a short summary here before I get into the actual goals. Moving into the actual goals, this is a list that is pulling in everything that I have tagged as goal, right? I'm viewing it, as I said, as a list, and I have grouped it by the life area. So let's have a look at the goal super tag. For each goal, I have a description. So generally, this is more personal. Why do I want to achieve this goal? Why is this something that's important to me? What is my intention behind this, right? I then have an area for me to put a short plan or a detailed plan, as detailed as you want it to be. Check boxes of what I actually need to do on a weekly or on a monthly basis or even quarterly to achieve this goal. I also have a project that I can choose from a list of the projects that I currently have active. I have a life area that I can choose from as well. I can choose the year, and at the end, which is what I should be doing now with the annual review, I can look back and add a status if I was successful with the goal. Maybe if I failed, or if I kind of reached halfway. I'm unsure of if I actually succeeded or failed, but it's kind of midway, right? So that's the goal super tag. Let's look a bit more in depth at the goals that I would have set for 2022. So my first goal was to save a certain amount by the end of the year and invest it. Right, so I have my short description of why I wanted to do this, and my plan was to increase my monthly savings to a certain amount and invest that each quarter. So I was able to tick off these check boxes just to show you as an example, and I put the status as a success because I was actually able to do that. Now for the goal super tag, I toggled on build title from fields. I put the name, as you can see here, but I also put the status so that I can have an overview of all of the goals, kind of just like at a glance to see, okay, I'm only successful in these 2 goals. I failed at 2, and I'm kind of in the middle at the other 2, right? So I just build the title with the actual status as well. I have the same for, I wanted to write 1 blog post weekly. So my plan was to establish a writing routine. I didn't do that, or at least I didn't stick to it. Read at least 2 books on writing, set up my personal website so that I can post, feel more comfortable with posting there as opposed to somewhere else. So I did that, but I was not very consistent until coming down to the year of actually writing 1 blog post every week. And essentially that's how it is for most of, everything else that I have here. I have that plan, and this is a good way also for goal setting for the next year. I don't have a status currently next to read 24 books because the year is not done, and I think that I can magically read a good amount of books before 2022 is completed. But this is generally how you can do your goals if you choose to in Tana using the goal super tag. So after I've reviewed my goals, I want to get a bit more in depth with these life areas. So I want to think about you can put whatever life areas that you want here, of course. You don't have to include personal projects. This is more for me because creativity and working on these personal projects is a bigger part of my life. That's separate to just like having a hobby per se. You can also add in life areas. For example, I don't have religion or spirituality here. If you are religious or if you are spiritual, of course, you put this in here and you can review that particular life area. How am I reviewing these? Well, I am noting any accomplishments, challenges, changes, lessons learned, and areas for growth. Those are quite a few big headings, but I wanted this area to really be a space for reflection or reflective writing. So I could have kind of made another super tag here, put these as fields, or even have these automatically generated for each of these nodes in the super tag. But I decided that I just want to kind of write here. I want to type, think about health and well-being. What did I accomplish? Well, I was able to exercise consistently for about 70 something days, but I got COVID, so then I couldn't exercise, my health declined a bit, and all of these things. So I can kind of write all of that here. I can note the challenges where I already did write. I already did note a challenge there, getting COVID and not recovering as quickly as I thought I would. Any areas for growth, right? How am I going to implement eating better for 2023? How am I going to implement ensuring that even if I do get sick, that I continue with my routine? All of these things I can brain dump and write and reflect for each of these categories in this section of life areas. And of course, there may be other things that come to mind, and those can be written here. Or maybe I don't have anything really to say. There weren't any changes in terms of work or career. That way I can just kind of write about a general consensus, where I think I am at, where I want to go for 2023. That's life areas. Next, second to last, is favorites. So I kind of like to review the year and look at my favorite books, my favorite film, shows, etc. And it will be nice to compare this. Well, I have compared it for previous years when I would have did it in my journal or in Notion. So I just brought that into Tana as well. So for books, I just have links here to my personal library on my website, as well as my Goodreads, so that I can review that list and pick out what my favorite book was and type that in here. The same for films and shows. I have my media library in Notion, and I have my Letterboxd account linked, so I can just look through and see where I am, what films I really, really enjoyed or what I rated highly, and I can type that in here. And the same for the rest of these. Of course, you can add or subtract anything that is more personalized to you. And lastly, the next year. So an annual review, I think, should also include some annual planning or planning for the next year. And this is what these nodes kind of represent. So what do I want the word of the year to be? I already know my word of the year. It's intention. I can put that in there. What am I excited about? I can type that here. What are some challenges and obstacles that I anticipate? I can type that here. And the thing is that you will kind of have an idea of what goes here after you've completed, especially the life areas and the goals, because you've essentially done that reflection. So you can, this is just a space kind of gearing your thinking towards the next year and where you want to hone and focus your attention. And lastly, of course, goals. If you're not someone that tracks goals on a year-to-year basis, then of course you can just skip this. But I just have an area for new goals. So if I wanted to, let's say, I don't know, new goal, I would just tag this as goal. And then I can fill in the information that we would have gone through before on how I'm going to approach this new goal. I just have tagged here as well, all goals to review. Maybe there's something that I want to take from here and just create a new goal for 2023. I have the list handily available here. I mean, it's also available here as well. It's the same thing. This is just grouped by life area. So I can easily come in here and set my goals for 2023 and essentially be finished with the annual review. So that is how I would do it in Tana. I'm very curious to know if you do an annual review, what you do differently, if you have any areas that I should add or areas that I should, any suggestions. I'm very open to that in the comments. My favorite part is definitely the highlights because I'm just very visual and I get to see all of these different memories from across the year. And another nice thing is to review these like with your family. You know, it's nice to kind of gather around and say, hey, I remember when we went here for dinner, or hey, I remember when we ate this. So it's a nice way not just to review for yourself, but also to review with your family and friends, etc. That's it for today. Please let me know if you're doing an annual review.